it's never too late. Sometimes we get very caught up in, I'm too old. I can't do it. I've passed the time when that would be right for me. And I say, don't let age, size, socioeconomic background, any of those things stop you from stepping out. Step out in faith and believe that you can do it, and you can do it.
Hello, I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, but today I'm bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Kerry Damiano. Let me tell you a little bit about Kerry. Kerry is a Christian speaker, a pageant coach and judge, a fashion and jewelry designer, and the creator and host of the Ms. World Traveler web series. That's a lot of things. Welcome, Kerry.
It's a conglomeration of many things, but then all of us have many sides, right? Things that we're interested in. And if you just put it all in the pot and stir it all up together, then you can come up with, something that you're passionate about, and then you never work a day in your life, right?
I love it. Absolutely. And I think you are exactly the person I need to talk to today because of all of those things. First, before we get into all of it, I have to ask the question, what is your favorite donut?
Well, I love the question. Unfortunately, I've been off sugar for many years, but in the old days, my favorite was a tie between the old fashioned with glazing on it and maple bar. Now, on the maple bar, I always felt like there was too much dough to the ratio of icing. So I had to pinch a little bit off the bottom, and so that the ratio would be better, more frosting, per bite of dough. That's why I had to go off sugar.
You have a whole system and now you've moved on to something else.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, look, I said a little bit about your bio, but I'm sure it makes us all want to know a lot more. So tell us a bit more about yourself.
Sure. I've had my own business for over 20 years now. But before that, I ran 2 manufacturing companies in 2 different states and commuted between the 2. So I think that will come up and be a little bit more important later on in our conversation. But that's just a little bit of my background. And I'm also single, never married, no children. So, footloose and fancy free.
Okay. I hear you. A lot of things I can relate to here. Well, so the reason I said that you're exactly the right person to talk to today, we're going to have a Take the Doughnut interview, which Take the Doughnut for me means carpe diem. It's another way of saying that. I'll link a video here for those who haven't seen the origin story, but basically I left a donut on a table in college and it became an object lesson for me in what does it look like when you leave opportunity on the table. So I don't want to do that anymore. I say take the donut so that I'll go after the things I want. And so this conversation is all about what it looks like when opportunity comes into your life and what you do about it and what that process really is. So the first question I want to ask you about that is, how are you with going after goals? What is that process like for you?
I have always marched to the beat of my own drummer. And sort of what that has meant for me, how that has manifested itself is I don't have a lot of fear about going for something. So, for example, after I started my own business, I decided that I was going to have a TV show. Didn't know anything about television, didn't know about anything about writing, just decided I was going to do it. And I did it. So that's just an example of, just go for it. If you think you can do it, why not? Why not give it a try? You just never know. And now, as I look back, that was a piece that I needed for where I am today. It's been a 20-some year process to get to Ms. World Traveler. And as I look back, I see all of those little pieces, like the pieces of a puzzle that I needed to get before I could do what I'm doing now. So you just never know how things are going to work out.
That is beautifully said. And I often think about, you just never know when a very particular skill or little fun fact that you learned or something that you've honed or developed for yourself, you never know when it's going to be relevant. Even if at the time it doesn't seem like it's going to be, or people are telling you it's not going to be,
Exactly.
all of a sudden, years later, you find, oh, glad I know this.
Right.
So I love that you've had that experience.
Exactly. Things feel like a failure. Like, okay, it didn't become what I thought it was going to be. It's not necessarily a failure. If you learned something from it, if you can take that information and apply it to the next thing, then it wasn't in a void. There was meaning behind it, even if it didn't become what you thought it was going to be.
Well, it certainly sounds like when you go after goals, you go after some big goals. So I imagine a lot of these take time, they take persistence. What keeps you motivated in that process?
Oh, wow. Several things. And, when I got your questions in advance and I was trying to think of things, and I had to narrow down the number of things that motivate me, but I realized they're all internal. I'm not motivated by external things like awards, kudos, money, deadlines. Deadlines once in a while motivate me to move faster, but pretty much all of my motivation comes from inside. So the first thing that I thought of was joy. I get a great amount of joy from coming up with ideas, uh, figuring it out. What do I want this business to be called? How do I want to approach it? What are the steps that I need to take? Basically, the whole figuring it out brings me a lot of joy. But I also get joy from, in some of the pageant stuff I've done, watching young women become more confident, become more self-aware, and building their self-esteem. So there's joy in that as I see their progress. So joy is one of them. Having a spirit of excellence is another. I always feel like I want to put my absolute best foot forward. I want to do the best that I can. I want when I get to heaven to be said, well done, good and faithful servant. So that wanting everything I do to be excellent, that's a motivator for me. Let's see, what else? I had several, but
joy,
those are the two the things
excellence.
that come to, yeah, I know, responsibility. Taking responsibility seriously. When you have your own business, and this, Melissa, there's no safety net. It's just you. And so having that responsibility, I love that. That motivates me. However many hours it takes to get something done, that's what it takes. And then if I get it done, go to a movie, or, I can have some time off. But taking responsibility for things, I love that. And now I have an employee. My niece moved from Chicago to Phoenix to be in partnership on this Ms. World Traveler adventure that we're on. And so I'm responsible for her. She made a move, and this is her job now. So that motivates me too, to do the absolute best that I can and build this into something that provides for her.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I love, people get motivation from all kinds of sources, but I love that yours comes from within and that you've really been able to pinpoint some of the areas that drive you. Well, a lot of times when we start going after something, and I'm sure you've encountered this, there are challenges that come up, but I'm curious if there's a particular brand of challenge that you seem to encounter over and over again, no matter what you're doing. Is there something that's reared its ugly head like that for you in your life?
Yes. And I'm going to lump them into the same category: busyness and distraction. it is so easy during the day for things that come up that need to be done. The bills need to be paid, or it just seems like every day there are so many things that come up that, when you set goals for yourself, you really want to be able to go forward with them. But then, I gotta fix this, I gotta fix that. And that just seems continual. So, trying to have a balance of handling all of those things, but keeping my eye on the prize, that's a challenge for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do kind of belong in the same bucket. I would agree. Well, of all of the big opportunities, big goals you've gone after, what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken? And that can be personal or professional, or it could be more than one. But what's the biggest one that comes to mind?
I would say when I left my regular job, medical benefits, 401k, regular salary, to start my own business. That's a pretty big leap, as I mentioned earlier about having no safety net. So that's part of it. But that you don't know, there's that sense of the unknown. And I think that might be something that stops women from doing this, because it is a little bit comfortable to have that regular paycheck, have that sense of I'm being taken care of. So it was a big leap, but I have never looked back. I love having my own business. And I'm sure you can relate to this. You have your own business, that there's nothing like that flexibility and to be your own boss, and to, it starts and it ends with you. That's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. So
Yeah.
I think you might have been hinting at this along the way, but what would you say is a donut you're trying to take right now? What's in progress for you?
Well, that's this new business that I've started in my 60s. And so never too late. So I know that's a little bit more of the encouragement side of things, but really this Ms. World Traveler, it's a web series and a blog about travel and shopping, which are things that I love to do. So, again, if you do things that you love, you don't really work, you just work at doing what you love. But it's a big project. We're really in the phase of growing it. So trying to grow followers, trying to figure out revenue streams, that there's a lot to it, and we're in the infancy, but it's going, and it's very exciting. We're learning.
What is
all
the
the time.
format of that? You said it's a blog?
It part blog, it's really more the web series. We're on YouTube. It shows like a television show, except that it's only about 10 minutes long. Our average is about 10 minutes per segment. And
How often
basically,
are you dropping new
every
segments?
Saturday,
Okay.
every Saturday. So once a week. Yeah, we have a mission of inspiring women to travel and then to shop local when they get there. So we support women, artists, designers, entrepreneurs, shop owners, things like that. You interview them and hear about their story. I think that's inspiring. When we as women get to hear other women's stories, that's inspiring to us. We can take something away from that. And so that's kind of the premise of the show. But then you also get to see, beautiful places. Maybe you have been, maybe you haven't been, and think, I think I'd like to go there. And then when you get there, you feel like you know somebody. You go into that shop and there's that lady, and you know her because you heard her story. So it's a big thing, and we're excited about it.
Oh, that's so exciting. What a big thing to tackle. And, so every Saturday you're doing a new episode. Does that mean that how far afield are you traveling every week to gather these stories?
Well, we just got back a week ago today from New Zealand.
Mm.
So we filmed in Christchurch and Auckland there. Before that, we were in Puerto Rico. Before that, Scotland and Wales. And by the way, I did see that you were in New Zealand.
I lived in New Zealand for 2 years, and I was about to ask a follow-up that just would take us in a totally different direction. But when we're offline, I would love to hear more about your experience in Christchurch, because when I was there, it was during the two major earthquakes that basically leveled the city, and I haven't been
like
back
2011.
since. Yeah.
Wow.
So I've thought about it a lot. They went through a lot.
And you know what,
when you hear about
Melissa?
a place that has a major earthquake, it's not just the one, there's just like aftershock after aftershock. And
Yes,
so
they're
I
still
would,
recovering.
uh,
There's a lot of recovery still going on. So they're not done.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful country. So you're going pretty far afield every Saturday.
Yes,
you're,
yes.
you're
You
giving us
know,
some content.
we have lots of places in the States too.
Mhm.
Not everyone is going to be able to travel abroad, but there's amazing places. We recently did Omaha. We've done Minneapolis, Dallas, Palm Springs. So we're equal opportunity. There's lots to see here and lots to see abroad too. It's come with us on our journey, and maybe it's a place you can only dream about, but maybe it's a place that you can actually go.
Absolutely. Well, you're already talking in this way. So let's sprinkle some encouragement on those who are listening. There may be other people who are listening to this right now who have a donut they want to take. And they may have started it or they may be just thinking about it. But what advice would you give to them about how to start moving forward?
Well, the first thing I would say is it's never too late. Sometimes we get very caught up in I'm too old. I can't do it. I've passed the time when that would be right for me. And I say, don't let age, size, socioeconomic background, any of those things stop you from stepping out. Step out in faith and believe that you can do it, and you can do it. So never too late. Another thing I would say is be patient. So just before we left for New Zealand, I got the final paperwork for our registered trademark. It took 16 months to get it. And we just kept on. We went places. We kept going, even though that was like this holdup. But it happens when it happens. And there was nothing I could do to speed up that process. It just is what it is. And so to be patient for that, being patient doesn't mean doing nothing. It just means letting things happen in the time that they will happen, that they need to happen. All good things in life, right? Take time. It has to simmer a little bit, and it will come at the right time. And then the third thing I would say is to be mindful of how you judge or how you measure your success. In my younger years, if things didn't work out the way I wanted them to, I thought it was a failure. And I remember my dad saying to me, this was a number of years ago, he said, I was kind of moping that I wasn't as financially, where I wanted to be. And he said, is that what you're using to measure your success? And so that has stuck with me. And it comes back and reminds me there are many other measures of success. So, for example, I'm working with a lovely woman right now. She's going to be competing in a pageant, and I'm doing designing some of her outfits. Now, one of the things I did in these last 20 years was I had my own fashion line, and it never sold. So I kind of considered it a failure. But now I'm looking at her. I designed some clothes for her that when she looks at herself in the mirror, I can just see that she feels beautiful and she stands a little taller. And I can see the self-confidence and the self-esteem in her. It wasn't a failure. It wasn't the right avenue for my design capability. So it is a success, and I get to see it in somebody else. When I see her become who she was meant to be, that's a measure of success.
Okay. Well, some important things to think about, right? What does success actually look like for you? Take your time with things, be patient, all really, and get started. It's
Right
never too late to
now,
get started.
now.
Absolutely. Well, if people are interested in finding more about you, where can they find you? I can put links in the description. I have a feeling there are going to be a few links here. So let us know where we can find you, and I'll add those
Sure.
links in.
Sure. Well, we are on social media. which it's so funny for me to say that because up until Ms. World Traveler came to be about a year ago, I was one of those people who said, I'm never going to be on social media, and kind of had a sense of yuck about it. And when this came to be, it was like, okay, now is the time. So you can find us on Instagram, and it's at Kerry, Kerry, Kerry Ms. World Traveler. You can find us on Facebook, Ms. World Traveler, and our YouTube channel is Ms. World Traveler. So pretty easy to find us if you just type it in.
Oh, that's great. Well, everybody be sure to check out those resources. There's a lot to learn from Kerry and her journey along the way. And if you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe because we've got more inspirational interviews still to come. And in the meantime, thank you so much, Kerry, for joining, for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom, and for inspiring us all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, everybody, you know what to do. Get inspiration, get donuts. Bye.